Hi, everybody. This is Sharona. Welcome to another, fantastic episode of Conversations That Matter Most. And of course, with me is my awesome sidekick, cohort, co-leader, awesome person all array around, Claudette. Hi, Claudette.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Sharona. And you are also an awesome person, host, cohort. I just love that. I love doing this with you. And I'm pretty sure by now people who are listening to us for a while know that we have a lot of fun together.
We do. We do have a lot of fun, even though we talk about deep things. But you can have fun and be deep at the same time. And before we begin, well, let's do a little intro. Claudette, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world?
What do I do in the world? I do a lot of stuff in the world, but let's focus on why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
So my name is Claudette Chenevert, and I'm known as the stepmom coach. And sometimes people say, "Ooh, stepmom, ooh, that's pretty messy, right?" Well, it can be good and it can be messy. And my work is around helping stepmoms create stronger and healthier relationships with their stepkids and their spouses, and deal with the drama, chaos that can happen when an ex is involved. Now, remember, not all exes are bad, and let's be clear, there are some really nice exes. I'm a mom and I'm also an ex, and I figure that I'm not that bad. Maybe that's my own bias, but hey. So I really help stepmoms, understand what their role is in their family, create some harmony and more cohesiveness in their relationship, so that not only can they thrive in their relationship, but they can help their stepkids going from surviving to thriving in their relationship, because we know that whatever we do as adults impacts our kids, our next generation. So I really want to help people create really awesome next generations so that we can have a better world altogether.
Great. Thanks, Claudette. Woo! And
what about you, Sharona? What is it? What is your awesomeness? What is your unique, amazing you that you bring to this world?
Oh, well, no, you don't really want to know that. Because we go in and out of very interesting places. But for today, I will talk about that I am known as a transition and transformation specialist, and I focus on midlife women dancing with change. And let's face it, that as midlife women, we are been on this planet for a certain amount of time. We've done a certain amount of things, and we might be at that place where we're going, what's next? And who am I? Who am I? What do I really want for the next portion or of the journey in my life? And so I work with and guide and help midlife women navigate through that amazing maze of transition and transformation, so that they too can not just survive, but thrive wholeheartedly in body, mind, and spirit, one action step at a time. And so be it in their relationships, in their financials, in their careers, with their offspring, with other offsprings, with their wherever they are in their midlife, helping them find that balance of what they need and putting out into the world what the world needs. So that's what I'm all about. And today we are going to talk about, what does being real really mean? And when Claudette and I were having this conversation on Monday, one of the things that I realized is that for many, many years I've heard, be real, be your true self, be authentic, and I kept thinking, well, can I really be my real me, whatever that is, in the world, or all the time, or do I have to be a little discerning? And then the other thing I was thinking about, doesn't that put a lot of pressure on us just to be who we are? Because we're trying to navigate life and all the rules about life and about being a woman. About being a woman in life, because we can be chastised so easily if we really show up who we are. So let's look at this. So here I am with my messy hair, not kempt. I don't wear makeup. But most people out there in the world will judge me about, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. That's who I am today. I want to put on a Hawaiian shirt. It's going to be hot out here in California today. We're going to be schwitzing. So, what do you think about this, Claudette? What does it really mean to be real?
Well, one of the things as you were talking is, like, I like to wear makeup. You don't, and I do, but I just got in. I drove like for 3.5 hours in traffic, and so I didn't wear any I have no makeup, right? And I'm wearing white. Where after Labor Day, I'm wearing white.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, I'm wearing white. I have white pants. But the thing is, like, you mentioned something about, being a woman and being that where there's so much judgment. And, it aggravates me that we have women, especially on social media. And I saw something, I think it was yesterday on the news, about this woman who took a picture of a nude person in the locker room, and it was actually in California, and she was like laughing at her, like, who the heck do you think you are, taking a picture of another woman and judging her? Like, if you can't even be yourself in the locker room while you're exercising and taking care of your health, like, honestly, you have to be afraid someone's going to take a picture of you or judging you. And now you have to do these, like, pretenses. And it's like, that really, let me say I was really upset.
Yes, I get that. And you know what? Here's the thing is, I think that's part of the issue is we have been, as women, and it started very young, if you think about it, have been put into this place of always judging other women, and how they look,
Our hair, the makeup, the clothes, the way we talk.
Right, how we act. If you really, and we are berated constantly. And I can remember when I was younger, there were commercials of, always with women cleaning the house. And I think at one point there was a woman in a dress and high heels cleaning the house on a commercial. And I kept thinking, who the hell does that? That's insane. And I'm going, but see, that's what we're supposed to be pretty, and we're supposed to be a size 0. But it's also about how we, talk. I mean, I am very animated when I talk most of the time, and I use my hands a lot. I can remember people telling me, oh, you got to settle down. And the same thing, I just recently had this conversation with somebody, and when I get excited or nervous or whatever, when I'm revved, I get louder, bigger, and more animated. Now, to some, that might sound like angry, but it really is, I'm just getting intense. And I've been called to the mat many a times for being so intense the way I talk. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then I had to learn how to bring it down 5,000 notches. And it's like, oh, it's so aggravating. So here's again, if I'm being my real me, talking how I'm talking, and that's going to push somebody's button. I'm always on the lookout. Oh, am I getting too loud? Am I getting too big? So again, can I really be real out there in the world?
And I love that you share that, Sharona. And I think, part of what you and I, what attracts, like why we enjoy working together so much is that we have that in common. Like, I remember when I first met my husband, and his family is really like prim and proper, no loud voices, you sit properly. In my household, no, everybody talked at the same time, no one listened to anybody. Like, if you wanted to have your word, if you wanted to be heard, you had to talk on top of everybody. Now, believe me, I'm teaching other ways of speaking because I know that's not effective. But there are moments when I'm really excited, happy, and I am exuberant. And like you, people think like, she must be angry, she must be upset. The thing is that when we're toning down who we are, because we want to make other people comfortable in their surrounding, we are denying ourselves part of who we are in our message. Now, are there times when toning down a little bit could be beneficial? Obviously, yes, for sure. If I want to have my husband listen to what I want to share, and I want him to listen to my message, I have to tone down. So part of the real me gets to be on a back burner temporarily so that I can get my message across. And I think sometimes when we're talking about, can I be myself all the time? The answer is yes and no. And I think part of it is, what is the purpose behind what you're doing or interacting with another person? What are your thoughts, Sharona?
Yeah, you know what, and that's one of the things is, I think being real is sometimes we have to, what's the word? I'm not going to use the word mask or disguise, but we have to take another facet of ourselves. So, pardon? Like a different hat, a different facet. So, for instance, when I feel myself getting really excited, I need to check in. What is it that I'm trying to do here? Am I trying to be heard? Am I trying to get a message across? Am I just trying to give myself some space so I can take a breather? What is it that I need to do? So I know what that feels like when I'm getting agitated. And I know what it feels like when I'm angry. And anger does not look the same as when I'm getting excited. It's a very different feeling in my body, and it shows up very differently.
So let's talk about anger and being real, okay? Because a lot of times, if I talk about myself, there are times when I'm angry at situations or sometimes at people. And if I wanted to be authentically myself, I would be yelling and screaming, what I actually am thinking. And then instead what I do is I sit back and say to myself, is what I really want, like, what is the purpose of this interaction? Do I just want to tell them off and say, you know what, just I don't want you in my face anymore? Or is it that, I'm so frustrated that I need to say something to someone? And so, I think in the bottom line, in order for us to decide if we want to be authentic or real all the time, part of it, I think we need to ask ourselves is, the message I want to convey, is it going to be heard, and is it going to be delivered in the way that I want people to hear it and be delivered? And sometimes we need to tweak who we are, our real self. And so I'm just going to go there, and then we'll talk about this, and I want to come back on something else, okay? So what are your thoughts on this?
As you were talking, one of the things is, I think one of the things that I'm getting a sense is that being real is checking in with ourselves in the moment. What is it I'm needing and feeling in this moment? That I think is, being, for me, that I just realized is if I'm feeling angry at whatever, if it's a situation or a person or anger is coming up, I need to just take a breath and say, I'm feeling angry. What do I need to do next?
Yeah.
The same thing if I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling scared or I'm feeling whatever. I think it's checking in. Being real, I think, is being in the moment and just checking in. What's going on right now? Why am I feeling this? What am I experiencing this? And I think sometimes we forget that because we're so focused on what's happening on the outer world. We're not checking in with ourselves. We're not saying, whoa, what am I experiencing here? And the other thing too is, one of the things is sometimes if we are being who we are in the moment and we are checking in, it is still going to trigger somebody else in the room. And I think as women, we need to stop focusing on taking care of other people's needs before our own.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that we as women, again, we've been trained to do this, is to put other people's needs first. And I think I posted something on my social media about you cannot pour from an empty cup. You need to fill your cup first. It's the same thing when you're in the airplane and if you're with you got to put your air on first. Because if you're unconscious, you can't help anybody. And it's the same thing as in our day-to-day. You need to take care of, so being real can mean, and again, this is going to be very individualized for each person, but it can be checking in with yourself and what are you needing in that moment? Yeah.
I love what you said, what you shared about, checking in and that we're triggering others. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who's going to be upset or annoyed or, intrigued by what you do. And, one of the things as we're talking, and just so people know, none of our conversations are scripted. So a lot of it is, our opinions, our ideas, and we're sharing how we're coming up as we are right here. But I also think that we have more than one self. I firmly believe that we have multiple selves depending on our role in our life. Like I have a me that is a wife. I have a me that is a daughter. I have a me that's a grandmother. I have a me that's a mom, a me that's a grandmother. And all of those, they're all me, but I interact within that role in different ways. Like I'm not going to be mothering my mother. Well, sometimes I do, but that's a whole nother story. But normally, I don't mother my husband, right? But my son, who is 33 years old, I still tend to mother him in a adult kind of way. And not like if he's a baby, but as an adult. I will interact with my grandchildren totally different than I do with other people. With my friends, it's a different. So I think somewhere we are a mishmash of different selves depending on the role you play. And the reason why I mentioned this is because I was once judged by a person while I was working, doing my work, and this was a very close friend of mine many moons ago. And she said, I don't recognize you. Who are you? Why are you being this person? I said, because this is my job. This is the role I'm playing, and this is who I am in this role. And she found it really, really difficult to see me in a different role other than her friend.
Yeah, you know, and I think something that you just touched on is I think I'm going to go a little deeper here.
Go ahead.
And again, this is just from a Sharona point of view. So I think there is just one self, but we divide it into many different roles. And how I can explain this is who I really am is this very, on the outside, I look like I'm a space cadet and flaky and whatever. But and I've been called things too, you know, weird. I've been called weird all my life, wacky. I see myself as Tigger. But in that, there's all this depth of deep emotion. And some might call me empathic. Some might call me slightly psychic. But how I show up, even in all these roles, that core of me shows up with me. Right? That you know, that flaky, wacky, weird, unconventional, free radical that's roaming the universe. And I used to say that I'm not multitasking, I'm multi-dimensioning. I can be in many different time zones at the same time, going way out into the universe and coming back in. Now, that has not always worked for me, especially out in the work world or even in my family or friends, because it looks like I don't follow through, I let people down. And so I had to learn that being me is not going to, what's the word, be appreciated, because there's an expectation of me being a certain age and as a woman and all that. I'm not meeting those expectations. I'm not. And then what happens is I turn that internally and going, oh, I'm not good enough. I can't find my way. I'm lost and all that. Now, yet, what helps me as a transition and transformational specialist is that expertise that I have in dealing with all that transition and change and transformation, because that's where I live most of the time. Does that make sense? So the way that I show up can be either helpful as experience, or it could be out there and people are going, well, I don't understand. And that's why I think even as you as a stepmom coach, we find our people who are going to come to us and work with us because we reflect them. Is that right? And so I think it's about, anyway, I don't know if I went off on a tangent.
Well, no, I appreciate where you mentioned, like, we have one core self that shows off different pieces of ourselves in different situations. So what I'm hearing and maybe I'm interpreting is more in we have some core values and core beliefs. And they come up and show up in different places and different times. No matter how, like, if I decide to be very expressive, very loud, but then there are moments when I can be more quiet, the core value that I have within me is that I want to listen to you and hear what you have to say and be present with you in your conversation. So whether I'm loud or whether I'm quiet, You know, there are different ways of showing up, but that's a core value. And you know, I think when we understand who we are internally and our core values and their depth, it's okay to be show up in different ways in different situations. You know, it's okay to vary. And I remember, I think it's reading from Brene Brown, who says, you know, when you showing up and being real doesn't mean you have to pour your heart out and spill the beans about every single detail of who you are with everybody or anybody, because that person you're with needs to earn that trust and respect of you being able to share that intimate piece of you of who you are.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks for reminding me. I remember reading about that with Brene. Yeah, Brene Brown. My words are getting stuck. And so that goes back to discerning. So I get to discern who I share what with at what time. Now, yep. And I like to have, I think there is something about core values that we bring with us. And again, those are very personalized. Everybody's core value is very different. It's the same thing as saying, you know, everyone has family values, but family values are very different based on the family. Yep. I wanted to, you touched something about being loud or being quiet. One of the things is, I remember one time, it was after a bad accident, and I had a little bit of, you know, I had to deal with the trauma after the accident. I went back to work pretty quickly, which was a mistake. And I was not being myself. I wasn't the perky, exuberant, whatever, free radical. And I remember them saying, when are you going to get back to normal? Now, here's the thing is, at that time, I needed to take care of me. I needed to bring all my energy in. I needed to heal. I needed to get really focused. And one of the things is, we're not all, you know, I know you aren't, and I know I'm not. We're not always exuberant all the time. I get very quiet. Yes, as Tigger, I do talk out loud to myself, even when I'm by myself, because I live with me and my cat. Now, I can use the excuse that I'm talking to the cat, but no, I'm talking out loud to myself. I also need like 5 bazillion things going on at the same time, because even when I'm in quiet mode, I can't just be quiet. I need to have something, music, something. Now, but with that, I've learned that's that, again, that value or that core center of me that I need. How I get quiet, it looks very different how other people get quiet, you know? And so that's something we need to look at, is our core values, what we hold true to ourselves. And again, it's very personalized. It's things that we learn. And so one of the things that really irks me, again, about, you know, being real is, I'm going to go back to anger. If I get really, really angry, or very aggressive, I have been called bitch many a time. And I find that even more irritating, because why am I, when I'm being aggressive, is considered a female dog? But if a man gets aggressive, he's considered a man. And I'm thinking, you know what? We need to change. I think I talked about this before, but I really would like to take bitch out of the conversation. I don't even want other women to call each other, because you're basically saying you're a female dog.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to be called a female dog, fine, I'll gladly do. But you know what? This whole, I think we talked about resting bitch face. It's like, shut up. So I can get myself, but then I go, but the other word that really drives me crazy is stupid. I have a very short fuse with the word stupid. So I have to learn that when people use that word, but I get really angry. Now, in those moments when I get really angry, do I get angrier because they called me something? Or do I say, oh, wait a minute, I'm being triggered here. What's really going on? And let me get real with that. And sometimes I have to retreat. So sometimes it's about retreating with the anger. Yeah. But anyway, so I just wanted to, but there's a core value of that, of the word stupid. I find that word offensive.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I really hate that word, stupid. It's something that has actually paralyzed me for years, because first of all, I thought I was stupid and I wasn't bright enough to finish school or whatever, or to accomplish anything. Which, when I discovered that, I'm maybe a little brighter than I thought, it was like, whoa. So that made me even angrier. But as you were talking, I'm thinking of, stepmoms and moms, mothers complaining and criticizing stepmoms for stepping in and taking care of their kids in the way they think is a good thing, and stepmoms criticizing and belittling the mothers for taking care of their kids in the way they think is the right way. And so, everybody does what they think is best in their own lives, and they're living and creating the kind of life they think they want to live. And again, we have a tendency to criticize and belittle and put down other women for something that they're doing without really taking the time to understand everything. Now, do you want to be there and spend a lot of time understanding the other person's point of view? Sometimes you don't, because you may not want to be triggered yourself in what the other person is thinking or doing. But there's also the point in that, is it really your business what other people are doing? Unless it's impacting you directly and impacting you in a way that is like bringing your being disrespectful towards you and condescending and stuff like this, really ask yourself, I know who I am. I know what I can do and not do. And so is it really important for me to show other people like my true self if they don't care? So don't spend all that energy trying to prove to others who may not care, like, who you are. Live your life and know that your own value, and understand what you are worth, and spend time on learning who you are. And I think that'll help you a lot in being more confident, more secure, and be more authentic with yourself rather than authentic with everybody else.
Yeah, and as you were talking, one of the things is I like that, being real with yourself. Again, tapping in and checking in with what you need in the moment and who you are, and so if there, and I can remember many women that I've worked with. They were, getting all bent out of shape about how either their children or their grandchildren or their spousal unit or friends were doing something in the kitchen or setting something up, and that's not how I would do. I'm thinking to myself, really? It's going to get done. It's not going to look the way you want it to look, but you got to let it go. That's one of the things is, I think, as a lot of times is we as women don't delegate because we have a certain way that we want it to show up. And yet when people say they'll come in and volunteer, I don't, it's like when somebody makes the bed, and then the woman would come in and redo how they made the bed because it didn't look like the way it's like, that's how they make the bed. Let it go. It doesn't have to be perfect. But
I have a confession. I have a confession, Sharona.
Okay.
I have a confession. I would get irritated on how my husband did the dishes. All right. I'm being honest here. I would get annoyed because he would wash the dishes before putting them in the dishwasher. And I had so many people tell me, he's doing the dishes. Who cares? I know, but you know, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, right? I'm being honest here. Yes, I would get annoyed at my husband. No, we've been together 25, 26 years. I'm letting him do the dishes the way he wants. And I'm zipping it.
Yes, because however he's doing it, the dishes are still getting done. And that's yes, thanks for sharing that, Claudette, because that's something that when you live with other people or you're coming into a step family, or, you know, or you're going into your offspring's house, and how they're raising their children might not be how you would raise the children, but that's how they are raising their children. So you gotta let it be. Let it be. Now, if you see there's something detrimental, or you're getting something is not, you might just say, you might have a conversation, but you cannot. And that for especially for a lot of women, we find, and midlife women, we have a hard time letting it go. And I think that's why midlife is such an awesome time, is because now we get to be real with ourselves, ask us what's really important to us.
Yeah.
And how are we going to, what are we going to take with us as we move forward, and what are we going to leave behind because it doesn't work for us? And so this is the time in midlife to get real with yourself and ask these deep questions. And if you're having a hard time, with these deep questions, reach out, and as we're wrapping up, Claudette, maybe there is a stepmom out there who might be feeling that she's not getting to be herself, being real in a new situation. How can they get in contact with you so they can get that extra support and not feel so alone?
Well, thank you, Sharona. And there are a lot of stepmoms out there that are feeling alone and feeling like they can't be themselves. They feel like they have to forfeit themselves in order to be a stepmom and to be in this relationship. I'm here to tell you, you do not need to forfeit yourself. You don't need to be bartering yourself in order to be in this role. And I'd love to talk with you in how I can help you, define that role and help you be more in sync with and aligned with yourself in this step family, and help you create and build a stronger and healthier relationship with your stepkids and your husband, and learn how to deal with an ex-wife. So if you're interested in learning more and hearing more about how I can help you, you can go to my website, which is stepmomcoach.com. There you'll see I have some e-courses. I actually have now 4 e-courses that are self-paced online and that you can take. They're really great programs with different topics. So, and if you have any questions or would like to talk with me personally, you can email me at Claudette@stepmomcoach.com. If you want to follow me on social media, do #stepmomcoach or stepmomwisdom, #stepmomwisdom. Those are the 2 ways you can reach me on my social media. So Sharona, I know that you love working with midlife women and do amazing work in helping them get back on track in their lives, and help them through the transition. So how can midlife women who are maybe wondering what's next in their life, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, thanks, Claudette. I'm playing with my hair. So you know what? If you're a midlife woman and you're also feeling maybe you're trying to do this transformation by yourself, or you're not feeling you're getting that support that you need, or you might not know who you really are, because you're at that point and you're going, wait, who am I? You know, and is this who I want to be? And you might feel like you might have lost your mojo. It just, things aren't going as you thought they would be. You can reach me at Midlife Women Dancing with Change .com. You can email me at Sharona at midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. You can find me on hashtag Midlife Women Dancing with Change, and on all social media, or Emotional Impact, because we also look at the emotional components of transition and transformation, and how to use them and let them go when they're either working or not working for you. And so, so those are just some ways, you know, and I really do love working with midlife women who are ready to say, you know what, I just don't, I'm tired of surviving. I really want to thrive. And so that's how you can get a hold of me. And I want to thank everybody for watching today. And you know what, here's the other thing is, if you, you know, listen to this again, a lot of information, take a pencil and paper or pen or crayon or whatever you want to,
computer,
keyboard, and take notes. Also share with your friend and frenemies, and also, you know, subscribe, because this way you'll get, you know, because we do these weekly, and this way you get to know what's coming up. And anything else you want to add, Claudette?
and we love to hear your comments. You know, if you have something you want to share, you know, put a comment below, and we'll answer you. We'll be happy to continue this conversation offline in the comment section. And understand that, you know, we share our opinions, we share our thoughts, and they may resonate with you, and sometimes they may not. And our purpose isn't for you to agree or disagree, but it's really to help you start a conversation. And so we're hoping that whenever you're listening to Conversations That Matter Most, it's sparking a conversation within you and with others, for you to create a better life for yourself, your family, and around you as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Claudette. I totally had a groovy time today. And again, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time on Conversations That Matter Most. Bye for now.
Bye.